Uh, the poem known as a what? Between going and staying, the day weavers. Weavers. Weavers by Octavio Paz. Now, uh, what do you think that the poem starts with a water? The poem states that between going and staying, the day weavers, in love with its own transparency. The circular afternoon is now a bay where the world in stillness rocks. All is visible and all elusive, and all is near and can't be touched. Paper, book, pencil, glass rest in the shade of their names. Time throbbing in my temples repeat the same unchanging syllable of blood. The light turns the indifferent wall into a ghostly theater of reflections. I find myself in the middle of an eye, watching myself in its a blank stare. The moment scatters, motionless, I stay and go. I am a pause. So this is the point, but the point titles with what? Between going and staying, the day weavers. When I say that between going and staying, the day weavers, so this title is means capturing what? Capturing the central idea, the main idea of what? Octavio Paz's poem, right? The sense of being captured or caught in a moment of movement, transition, hesitation, right? Hesitation means reluctance and remembrance, reflection, isn't it? So, what we find out that transition, reluctance or agitation, and the reflection. Reflection means remembering the past. Now, uh, the poem title expresses what? A state of what you can say that liminality. Liminality. So liminality means what? That called as a limited. So where movement is stillness, it means there is no movement, there is a no change, isn't it? Beside that, it also stated about that the movement and stillness, action and inaction. So the opposite of each other, movement and stillness, action and inaction. What do you mean by action and inaction? It means somewhere the movement is going on, it means action is moving forward. Inaction means called as the action is stopped. Isn't it? Life and time all exist together. Life and time all exist together in a very smooth balance, delicate balance. So when you say that between going and staying, the day waivers, it is stated about nothing but the action, inaction, hesitation. You can talk about transition, reflection, or you talk about movement, stillness, life and time, everything, going in a very smooth manner. The word, when you talk about uses with a between, so that immediately introduces a feeling of suspension. Feeling of what? Suspension. What do you mean by suspension? That's something called as a stop. You can say. It is not about one fixed state or the other, right? But it is about the space in between them. Space in between them means space in between the going and staying, action and inaction, life and time, isn't it? So, where everything feels unsurety. Uncertain means called as unsurety. I'm not sure about it yet. I'm deeply alive, right? I don't know what is happening in my life, but I'm just leaving. I'm just leaving. That could be a kind of a, means you can say between. So when you say that the phrase or the phrase called as the day waivers, what do we find out? That gives the title a powerful visual and emotional quality. It suggests what? It suggests that even time itself, what? A time itself hesitates. Hesitant, you understand? So time also feels reluctant, not interested to do something. So as if the day personified is not sure whether to move forward or remain still. It means the poet here tries to talk about what the personification. What do we mean by personification? That's called as a human quality possessed by the any of the object. Here, the day is carrying the personification. Why? Now, because when you say that, means the day is not sure whether to move forward or remain still, isn't it? So this wavering reminds what? Not only the movement of time, but also the inner condition of the poet's mind. Inner condition of the poet's mind. So just as the day trembles, just as the day trembles between dawn and dusk. Dawn and dusk, you understand? That's something called as the early morning and the early evening, isn't it? So when you say that the day moves or shakes between dawn and dusk, the speaker seems to hover between presence and absence, isn't it? So engagement and withdrawal, engagement and withdrawal. That's what you would find out. Like the day presence in between what? In between dawn and dusk. Dawn means morning, dusk means evening. So similar to that, the poet also presents in between what? Life and death. You can say what you can say that presence and absence, or you can say that what? Engagement and withdrawal. Got my point? So therefore, the title actually shows the exact picture. The title mirrors or shows the exact picture, the poem's exploration of human consciousness. Human consciousness that's suspended between two states of being. That two human consciousness that's suspended between two states of what you can say, states of existence, you can say. Right. In a deeper sense, you can find out the title means, symbolizes what? The title symbolizes the transience of life. The transience of life means the movement of life, isn't it? So each day, like human existence, so that wavers between what? That moves between beginning and ending, the hesitation of the day that reflects the fragile balance of life. What do you mean by fragile balance of life? Fragile means something which is easily broken. So the life balance of life that is easily broken. You try to maintain, you try to make everything settle, but you find out there is a glitch in it, or there is a flaw into it. So, in that case, the hesitation of the day reflects the um, fragile balance of life itself constantly shifting. So, it is stated that it is never permanent. What is never permanent? The life is never permanent, isn't it? So, the points imagery of transparency. Imagery of transparency means what? That the points tries to show certain natural images that indicates nothing but the reality, transparency. So the image also shows the reflection, remembrance, and the stillness that continues the idea. So when the poet says the going and the staying, they are not just a physical acts. It's not about that going and staying, it's called as a movement or a presence in a particular place, stillness. So it doesn't indicate about the means of physical acts, but it indicates about what the metaphors. Metaphors means called as a direct comparison. Metaphors for what? Metaphors for living and dying, going and staying. So in that case, what going means called as a pass away and staying means called as a life. In that case, what happened? This indicates about living and dying, that change and continuity, being and becoming, change and continuity, you understand? Right. So being and becoming. So the poet, uh, when gives the title, tries to present that what? By placing the reader, by placing the reader in between the moment. So what Octavio Paz reminds the reader that existence is made up of such pauses. Such pauses means such stillness, like brief, fleeting. Brief means called as a huge. Fleeting is called as a passing spaces where awareness is heightened. So, moreover, the poet wanted to point out that title also reflects the poet's philosophical outlook. Poet's philosophical. What do you mean by philosophical? That called as a knowledge about life and love. Right. So the title also reflects the poet's philosophical outlook. For Octavio Paz, time is something not linear, but circular and rhythmic. Time है क्या? ना circular है and rhythmic है. So the day wavers like a tide, wavers like a what? Tide that ebbs and flows. That ebbs and flows means that goes and comes, isn't it? So, and what does that waver symbolizing? The waver symbolizing the rhythm of existence. Rhythm of existence means what? If somebody burns, somebody has to die. Somebody burns, it means somebody has to die, isn't it? So the title, therefore, is not only descriptive of a passing moment, it is not describing only the passing moment. It means things that happened in the past. So it doesn't talk about the passing moment, but also deeply meditative. Meditative means you need to think deeply what your life is all about, right? So it invites the reader. It invites the reader to contemplate. Contemplate means to think deeply the nature of time and self. समय को देखो and अपने आप को देखो. Isn't it the nature of time? Time के प्रकृति को देखो and अपने आप को देखो. So the poet wants to convey how we are always moving, how we are always moving, but always still in one sense. Still in one sense means called as a stop or pause in a one sense. So how each moment is both ending and the beginning. Every moment that you find out, each or every moment that you find out is nothing but the beginning and ending. Right? So all total, if you talk about that, the title between going and staying, the day wavers, so that perfectly captures the what the quality of the poem, and it is a kind of a poem that presents with a poetic summary, right? So, poetic summary of the central experience, the awareness of life's, impermanence, right? So, one has to know that life is not permanent. So, it is something called as a impermanence. The awareness of life is what? Impermanence. Not only impermanence, it is also stated the beauty found in stillness. Right. So the beauty found in stillness. The wavering of the day becomes a mirror for the wavering of the human soul. Right. So the wave is nothing but comparing with the wave of the human soul. So it is caught between the wish, desire to move forward and the desire to remain. Right? What human life is all about. The human life is always want to progressive. Right? Human life always wants to, means do more, desire more, isn't it? So therefore, the title not only presents the tone, but also it becomes a symbolic idea to understand the poem's meditative depth and the philosophical richness or beauty. Right? That's what. Let's move to the point. Understand the means each and every part of the poem. How many stanzas did you find out in this poem? It's a very small one, but if I say that what it seems like couplet, two lines, but they are not couplet, isn't it? So it starts with the what? Between going and staying, the day wavers. So the poet here describes the day as if it cannot decide. The day cannot decide whether to end or to continue, isn't it? It means the day has been given the personification, quality of personification. So the day is in a state of what? Reluctance, hesitation. Between what? Between moving forward, going, between moving forward and remaining still. That's called as a state. This also reflects the poet's own inner feeling of uncertainty or pause in life. Now, always understand that what does the poet think? So the poet expresses through the poem, but while he is expressing through the poet takes the natural images or objects to explain his or her means pain, his or her emotion, isn't it? So it happens like what you want to convey a message to your friend, but you directly can't say. How do you say? You indirectly approach. How? Now through your friend, isn't it? So likewise, the poet wants to convey his inner feeling of uncertainty or pause in life, but he takes the example or he takes the example of the day and tells that the day cannot decide whether to continue or to stay still. Got my point? That's what is the first line said between going and staying. The day wavers. In love with its own transparency. In love with its own transparency, the circular afternoon is now a bay where the world is a stillness rock. So the poet says that in love with its own transparency, it means the day appears what? The day appears to admire. The day appears to admire whom? Now its own clarity. Its own clarity means the day's own clarity, the day's own brightness, isn't it? So the sunlight is pure, the sunlight is clear, and the time feels open and still. Time feels what? Open and still. The poet suggests that there is beauty in this clear, calm moment of hesitation, right? So that is why, in love with its own transparency, the poet suggests that there is a beauty in this clear, calm moment. Clear, calm moment means clear, calm moment refers to the day, right? The day. The day is clear, the day is calm, but the day has the hesitation. What is the hesitation? Whether to continue or stay pause. Isn't it? That's what is the hesitation. The circular afternoon is now a bay where the world is stillness rocks. So the afternoon feels like what? The afternoon feels like a calm circular bay, right? Circular bay means what? The meaning of circular bay is called as a quiet place, calm, circular place. So where everything rests peacefully. So everything means everyone is resting, calm or peacefully. Time appears to move gently. Time appears to move gently, means in a very slowly, as usual. So like waves in a book, waves in a bay. So and the world feels steady and motionless. So the poet is describing it is nothing but a deep stillness that surrounds him. So what surrounds him? That's called as the time stops. Time goes very slowly, and it shows that deep stillness that around him. All is visible and all elusive. All is visible and all elusive. All is near and all can't be touched. So such a beautiful line it is where it is stated. The poet stated about everything. The poet stated that everything around him is nothing but clear and visible. All is visible and elusive. Elusive means clarity or clear. All is near and can't be touched. But all it feels distant. Distant means far and all unable to touch. Isn't it? It means that even though he can see the world, the poet can see the world, the poet cannot fully hold, fully to hold or hold on to it. So the poet stated that it keeps slipping away. It goes away from him. The poet is expressing what? The poet is expressing the, what you can say, that mysterious nature of reality. Mysterious nature of reality. So we can see it, but we cannot truly possess it. हम देख सकते हैं लेकिन हम उसको कभी भी कैरी नहीं कर सकते, राइट? सो दैट्स व्हाट द पॉइंट सेज. So paper, book, glass, pencil. Paper, book, pencil, glass rest in the shade of their names. So the poet says that everyday objects like paper, pencil, book, and glass, they lie quietly. They lie quietly means they are completely still. They are paused. They present in one particular place for a very long period of time. Right? What? The paper, book, pencil, glass. So the poet also said that they sat quietly. But Paz says that. Paz says, or Octavio Paz says, they rest in the shade of their names. They rest in the shade of their names. It means that called as a words and names. Words and names in language separate us from the true quality of things. We know things by their names, aren't we? We know things by their name, but the names themselves create a kind of a distance from what the things really are. Right? Let's say that you talk about that water bottle. That water bottle filled with water. But does that water bottle move on its own? No, it can't. Right? So, and that's the reason we call that water, that it is a water bottle. But if I talk about you, you can move and you have a name, that you are a girl and your name is so and so, isn't it? So, therefore, paper, book, pencil, glass rest in the shade of their name. Because of their names, they also do the activities, isn't it? Time throwing in my temples repeats. Time throwing in my temples repeats the same unchanging syllable of good, or sorry, syllable of blood. So the poet states that the poet feels the beating of his pulse, right? So that indicates the rhythm of blood in his temple. Rhythm of blood in his temple. Temples means body is known as the temple. Right. So this steady beating means what? The life that continues reminds him that time is a passing, isn't it? So time is passing, even though everything outside is calm, still, his heartbeat continues. Whose heartbeat continues? That's something called as poets. Marking the constant movement of time and life within him. The poet also said, the light turns the indifferent wall. The light turns the indifferent wall into a ghostly theater of reflections. So the poet says that the sunlight that falls on a plain wall, the sunlight that falls on a plain wall and create what? Moving reflection, movement of reflection, like shadows or patterns. The wall itself doesn't care. The wall itself doesn't care or indifferent, but the light and the reflection makes it come alive, right? Like a ghostly movie. So this image suggests how the mind actually, how the mind projects meaning and life onto simple things. The poet also said that what? I find myself in the middle of an eye. The poet said that he finds himself in the middle of an eye, watching himself at a blank state. It means the poem suddenly becomes aware of himself. The poem suddenly becomes aware of himself as if he is both the observer and one being observed. So he observes and people observe him. It feels like he is trapped. He is trapped inside an eye, looking at himself through emptiness. And this shows a moment of deep self awareness where he sees himself from a distance and he feels strangely separated. Then finally it is stated, the moment scatters, motionless, I stay and go, I am appalled. The moment scatters, motionless, I stay and go, I am appalled. So it indicates that the peaceful moment that breaks, separated, scattered. The poet realizes that means he is both what he both staying and going at the same time, but on the outside, but moving inside. Still on the outside, but moving inside. In thought and time, when he says, "I'm a pause," he accepts that he exists in this, in between state, not moving forward, not going back, not simply human being, or not simply the human state. So you consider that Octavio Paz written between going and staying, that describes a quite reflective moment where time appears to stop through simple images, the day, the light, the wall, and its own heartbeat. Whose heartbeat? The poet's heartbeat. So Paz shows how life constantly moves even in stillness. So the poem finally ends with a beautiful realization or clarity that what means that life itself exists in the pause between action and rest, between going and between going and staying, isn't it? So that's what is the poem all about, right? That is what the poet tries to point out. So the poem carries with what some of the poetic devices, like one is called as a personification, second one is called as a imagery, right? So when we say that personification, it means uh, the day wavers is the personification, in love with its own frequency, in its own transparency. Second is imagery where we find out the circular afternoon is now a bay. Circular afternoon is now a bay. It is an imagery. We also find out paradox. So when we say that a paradox is a statement that seems self-contradictory but reveals a truth. So, like you can say, all is visible and all is elusive, then all is near and can't be touched. So the same statement is contracting to its own point. So even you also find out metaphor, direct comparison, symbolism. So when we say that symbolism like eye, light and the reflection, paper, book, pencil and glass. Besides that, we also find out alliteration, like you can say, uh, alliteration is called as a repetition of what? Consonant sound. Like you can say same syllable, same unchangeable syllable. So it indicates that uh, it is nothing but an alliteration in nature. You also find out repetition. Repetition is also there, like between going and staying. Most of the time, it is repeated. I stay and go. It is also continued style of movement and stillness, life, and time. Besides this repetition, we have another one that's called as a contrast or antithesis. Contrast and antithesis. Let's say that if I say contrast and antithesis, like you find out the title itself makes a contrast by saying that going and staying contrast to each other. Second is called as visible versus invisible. Third is called as a near versus untouchable. Fourth is called as a motion or means stillness. And so all these are nothing but called as an example of what you can say contrast, right? So Octavia Paz uses poetic devices like personification, imagery, paradox, a metaphor, symbolism, and reflective, as well as you find out what you can say alliteration. So all reflect and philosophical mood Each device contributes to what? Contributes to theme of liminality. Themes of what? Liminality. So being caught between movement and rest, between the self and the world. So you find out together you can say that these devices make the poem what? Not too beautiful in language, but also deep in meaning. So that's what the poem all about, right? So it's a very beautiful, philosophical, and the kind of a fact which is representing in the poem. Right. I think I'm means sleepy na. I'm drowsy na. I don't look drowsy. I look drowsy.